I am here with Harold Javid, Director of Regional Programs at Microsoft Research Connections. Harold is going to help us see how Microsoft Research is fueling the future, I say in air quotes. So be ready for that. Harold, I believe you have some video first that are going to illustrate some of the sort of forward-looking projects that Microsoft Research Connections has been involved in, right?
Yes, yes. And you know, the entire event has been about futures, because research is about futures. But a lot of what we're going to talk about today is about futures in terms of what we can do with people. But before that, the first video is actually still about research futures.
Yeah, what are we going to see in the first video?
We're going to see some work that's been done with an organization called FAPESP in Brazil. FAPESP is actually a state organization within Brazil.
Okay.
They're involved in doing research jointly with us for a number of years.
Very cool. Well, let's roll that video.
FAPESP is a research funding agency in the state of São Paulo, Brazil. It funds research in all areas of knowledge. Microsoft Research and FAPESP started collaborating as a joint research center back in 2006. We work on a call for proposal basis, so researchers from the state of São Paulo are invited to submit proposals, and we co-fund research.
The FAPESP Microsoft Joint Research Center is a collection of research projects which are selected by FAPESP and by Microsoft Research, mostly in fields related to the environment.
Our objective is to somehow assess the impact of climate changes on plants. My role in this project is to develop a set of computer science applications, tools, and algorithms that could help in the data analysis, in the data acquisition, and also in the data mining process. In this project, we have two teams. The first one, based on UNESP University, is in charge of the phenology aspects. The second team at Unicamp in the Record Lab is in charge of developing the computer science tools.
Phenology is the study of recurrent life cycle events, such as the flowering, leafing, bird migration, and its relationship with climate. And that's why phenology is nowadays one of the best indicators of climate change. Traditionally, the phenology is done on the ground through on-the-ground observations, and this takes a lot of time. We have an e-phenology core site, which is in the Cerrado Savannah. And in this site, we have the tower with the digital camera photographing the vegetation, and then we take daily photographs of the vegetation. Then we can see the changes on the vegetation. And we validated this camera data with this on-the-ground observation. E-phenology, compared with the traditional on-the-ground phenology, is much more efficient. We can have much more information with less human labor. But also, one thing that is very important is that we can repeat that over a large number of sites, what is nearly impossible with this on-the-ground traditional phenology.
We have different outcomes in this project. From the computer science perspective, we have been developing some algorithms for image processing, data analysis based on database features, also some techniques based on machine learning approaches. From the phenology perspective, we have been developing some models to establish connections between image features and phenology data that have been obtained.
The Joint Research Center provides two main benefits for us as researchers. The first one is allow us to do risk research on the edge of knowledge without constraints. And the second one is put us to work together with computer scientists, which expand our possibilities to answer questions, analyze data, and open up a lot of new horizons for our research.
So that's a win-win. We can focus on problems that are strategic, very relevant to the humankind, and at the same time, those problems pose a challenge to computer scientists, and we can advance the state of the art in computer science.
If you invent a new tool that can observe or measure something nobody could do before, that's when you have a chance of doing new science.
This new generation of researchers, they're going to be, I believe, much more skilled than the previous one we had, because they are being trained in the skills from plant ecology and from computer science. So we are building up a new generation of researchers through this joint research center.
Wow, fascinating stuff. I was struck by the impact this work has on our world. Being able to understand climate change, how it affects plant life. It seems that this is work beyond just developing new Microsoft technology, right?
Yeah, it's way beyond that. You know, one of the great challenges we see in the regions is how you bring different kinds of technology together. And I think one of the things you see in this video that I really like is you see the two professors, Professor Torres and Professor Morelata, doing things that neither one of them could do independently. And it's about bringing technology, it's about combining with researchers.
Now, I know Microsoft is known for acronyms. It's got its own language, but FAPESP, where did that come from?
Well, FAPESP is actually, I don't know the Portuguese for it either, but it's the name of a state organization within the state of Sao Paulo. And we've had this 7-year partnership with them doing really great work.
Well, and that's because it was one of the buzzwords there. Struck by Professor Morelato's comments, how she recognizes there is a new generation of scientists at FAPESP and bringing together computer science, phenology, using technology to help accelerate phonological research, right?
Exactly. Actually, she told me when I met with her recently that she never dreamed that she would be able to do the kinds of things she's doing now that she has a full-time computer scientist as a partner.
Wow. Now, I understand you've come with a stack of videos today. You have another video for us.
Yeah, I have actually 2 more videos.
Okay, what are we going to see?
The next video is about our Faculty Fellows program, which is one of the ones I'm most proud of.
And in fact, we saw the newest Faculty Fellows receive their awards earlier today, right?
Yes, indeed.
We saw that in between, I think, Tony and you and Bill Gates and some award recipients earlier today, right?
Yeah, we awarded 7 this year from around the world. Somebody from Mexico, somebody from Israel, 4 from North America. And in addition to that, we have somebody from Australia. So this was a great time for us.
All right, well, let's take a look at that video now.
Early career professors face some really big challenges. Among them is the desire to really launch a career of research, and yet they have to spend so much time seeking outside funding that they spend more time looking for funding than they spend looking for actual research topics. The Faculty Fellowship Program allows them to really focus on their research rather than on seeking funds in those critical early years.
After Princeton, I went to Caltech for my PhD. I was in the electrical engineering department. My research focus was in computer vision, artificial intelligence, and computational neuroscience. I received the Microsoft Research Faculty Fellowship Award in 2006. The Microsoft Faculty Fellowship was very helpful in funding me to explore risky and early projects that would not have been supported otherwise. In my case, it was the ImageNet project along with others. The ImageNet project is a massive data set collection and research project in computer vision and AI. Our research in computer vision will have huge impact down the road in visual image search, in digital data indexing and management, in robotic navigation and interaction with humans. Juan Carlos Nieblas was my very first PhD student. He joined my lab when I was a very young faculty, and we worked together for more than 5 years. After Juan Carlos' very successful PhD, he went back to his home country, Colombia, to become an assistant professor.
I was elected a Microsoft Faculty Fellow back in 2012. The fellowship is very interesting because it highlights new researchers in the field that have potential to develop new ideas that can lead the community to move forward in the science.
Pepe Lee's student Juan Carlos surprised us by being selected in 2012. He came through our Latin American part of the program, and he was nominated by universities in Latin America. And at the time, we didn't even recognize that he was Fei Lee's student.
The fellowship definitely helps in multiple dimensions. One of them is It allows my work to be exposed to a wider community, a wider computer science community. Also, as a mentor, it helps my students to get inspired as well, to pursue their own ideas and research agenda. And also from research perspective, it helps me to pursue new ideas, new risky ideas that we wouldn't otherwise be able to pursue.
I'm very proud of Juan Carlos. He's one of the trailblazers in Colombia who are doing modern computer vision and artificial intelligence research and mentoring the future generations of students in that field of study in Colombia.
Having a significant amount of funding with no strings attached allows an early career researcher to really follow courageously the path that their research leads them.
The Microsoft Faculty Fellowship has played a very positive role in our research community. It recognizes the young rising stars of computer science research. It provides early and critical funding to these young faculty, especially for their exploratory research projects. And it opens up collaboration opportunities with Microsoft researchers. I personally feel very honored that I was selected as a fellow, and it's great to be among this group.
Well, I see what you mean about freeing up professors to explore innovative research rather than chasing around for grants, and Fei-Fei Li's story makes that point really, really well.
Yeah, we're pretty excited not only about Fei-Fei Li's work, but the kind of people that she represents.
And, you know, obviously you're talking with students there, we saw examples, and by the way, you were great in that video.
Oh, thank you.
I know you can't say that about yourself, but you were great in that. I like how our students receives the Microsoft Research Faculty Fellowship, sort of like paying it forward kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, we asked ourselves the question about 8 or 9 years ago, if you really want to make an impact on the future of computing, what kinds of things can you do? And the idea of identifying early career in young professors, in finding some way to really enable them to move forward, you're going to do a lot of things. You're going to bring forward great students, you're going to bring forward great research. So that's why we started the program.
Well, Harold and I have some more to chat about, but I believe my colleague Josephine has lined up some of the newest faculty fellows over at the Conference Center. We're going to switch over there and see what the newest fellows have to say about the award. Josephine?
Yes, with me is Anama Anand Kumar. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. She is the winner of the Faculty Awards. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And she's from UC Irvine, by the way. Yay,
Yeah.
plug to the UC system.
California.
So what did it mean to you to win the Faculty Award?
I mean, it was really exciting, it's a great honor. Like when I see all my predecessors who won the award and they've gone on to do like really great research and exciting research, it's a big motivation for me. And it's just great, like coming to this event and, being there just before Bill Gates went up to speak. It was just very exciting.
Amazing, wasn't it?
It was.
And plus, this award comes with it. There's a cash prize, there's resources. What will you do with that, do you think?
So this is great, as Harold has earlier mentioned that this is funding with no strings attached, which is great in terms of like if I want to hire a great student or a postdoc, this is there for me, and this is great, and it also opens doors within Microsoft Research. Like I've already been interacting a whole lot with Microsoft Research, and I look forward to taking it to a next level.
This will certainly put you and your research in the spotlight, which is good pressure. It's good,
that's
right?
Great. That's great. It's very exciting for me.
And then describe to us a little bit about what your research is about. I know it has to do with graphing variables, but tell us more.
So I'm interested in designing large-scale machine learning algorithms with broad applicability. So data deluge is something that we are seeing in a number of domains. We have now large amounts of data, but even as we have large amounts of data, it gets richer, meaning there are more variables or more unknowns as we get more data. So how do we handle this? So this is what I call high-dimensional learning. So there needs to be like kind of a whole new bag of techniques, a new way of thinking in terms of how we can do this with limited computational and sample resources.
Just one example, I saw a bit of clip of a video about this. You could track, for example, how huge groups are using Twitter and sort of what patterns emerge.
Exactly, like you automatically basically want to learn, like, are there like kind of hidden groups of users who move together, who interact together? And, so this is an interesting problem I've been working on, how to detect hidden communities within networks and how to do it efficiently in an extremely fast way. Like the latest project, I've been looking at how to implement these on GPUs, in order to even get the capability of parallel computation on a massive scale, and to be able to scale this to large networks.
Another example is going to be used in healthcare. I understand that you're sort of graphing predictable or patterns predictability, however you want to call it, in genes, for example.
Yeah. So I've been working with some computational biologists, and again, working on more interdisciplinary research is something that I find very exciting. It opens up like kind of new ideas and new tools. And so this particular project, I'm looking on how gene associations can be modeled through these machine learning techniques, like how we can automatically learn about hidden regulators or regulatory mechanisms that different groups of genes undergo. And this will enable us to vastly bring down the cost of experiments, because it would be impossible to experiment over different groups of genes and predict how they would be behaving together through some common regulatory mechanism.
So you're making the computer do the work, running the algorithms to see what patterns might emerge, what are the connections between these genes.
Exactly, and this will hopefully enable us to do some prediction of how genes may affect diseases down the line. And this is another exciting area where some of my techniques can be hugely applicable.
Okay. Our host, Chris, has a question for you, too. Chris, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to toss it over to the expert here, because Harold Javid is here, and when you got one of the new faculty fellows there, I know you got to tip the cap somehow, right?
Anima, we just really want to congratulate you. I had a question, if you think about 4 or 5 years from now, how do you think this will make a difference for you?
I think it's what I would call it as this is the tipping point. I would look back and say that, the award came by, and then after that everything started, and then I hope to be having a nice large group of students and postdocs with whom I'm able to also collaborate with Microsoft researchers and take my research to a whole new level.
This is sort of like winning the MacArthur Genius Grants, no strings attached, right?
Yeah. To be honest, the day I got the award, I woke up dreaming that I had gotten the MacArthur Award, which is very strange. I never think about it. So now that you mentioned that...
Well, it's the equivalent in the computer science world, right?
Exciting.
But, there's also pressure, because then all eyes are on you, and they all want to know what is the result of your, what's going to happen with your research.
I'm very excited too as well. So I hope that, it will lead to something very great from here on. So.
Well, congratulations. This is really exciting. And I hope you enjoy this faculty summit.
It's very exciting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
you see, we're expecting great things to come up from her. Chris and Harold, back to you.
Great stuff. Thank you, Josephine and Anima. That's great stuff. You know what? Before we even continue, we've got a question from our online audience. A lot of folks watching, and they can pose questions throughout the day. We encourage that, by the way. You can pose one right there in the chat tool. One for you, asking about this whole subject. What are the criteria for the Faculty Fellowship Awards?
So there are different kinds of criteria.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the criteria that's just to qualify. And to qualify, a person has to have a PhD within the last 8 years and be in the first, second, or third year of their first tenure track position. Well, that sounds very exciting. But then we're really looking for those people who have the opportunity and the future to be great researchers.
Right.
And the other thing you saw in this interview is energy. And she's characteristic of the people we bring in.
Right.
That's the most exciting part.
And obviously she's excited now. The other fellow is excited because with this award, as you said, sort of comes the freedom to give them to pursue innovation research, right?
Yeah. I've seen a number of the faculty fellows. They've been working really hard, and they use these funds to really build a team early on, and that really allows them to move forward quickly.
Now, one of the first steps in all this, for some people, is being an intern, getting your foot in the door. I know one of your next videos has something to do with that, right?
Yes, we're excited about our internship program. As Tony said this morning, for those of you that saw his presentation, we have 1,000 interns a year coming here. We have about 1,000 researchers. What an incredible ratio.
Absolutely. All right, we've got that video queued up. Let's take a look.
In 2003, I was a researcher in MSR Redmond. I started the India internship program. We got about 45 or so applications, nominations from faculty in India for students who are potential interns. These were undergraduate students as opposed to the usual PhD interns in Redmond. And Pushmeet Kohli was one of the interns in the first batch.
I was born in Dehradun. This is this valley town in the foothills of the Himalayas in North India. I ended up studying in this sort of university in South India, this National Institute of Technology, Warangal. That's where I did my computer science and engineering degree. Now, when I went to that college, you have to understand that for the first 17 years of my life, I had sort of lived in a circle of 50 kilometers.
Pushmeet is a very, very bright student. I mean, I think that his career, speaks for itself. He was a great find.
One day, out of the blue, I get this email from a research scientist in Microsoft Research-Redmond, and the email read like this. Pushmeet, I like your CV. I'm looking for interns through this MSR India program, and I would like to interview you. I was quite intimidated. I mean, this is proper research. And 2 days later, I'm on a flight from Delhi to Amsterdam to Seattle.
Pushmeet was an interesting case. He actually came with the expectation that he would work on computer vision, but we had placed him in the software engineering area.
And I meet Wolfram Schulte, and he basically tells me that, oh, Pushmeet, what we are going to work on is testing device drivers. So I told them, I have no clue what you're talking about. I have not worked on device drivers. And he said, no, you will see. You will see. There is a connection. And there was a meeting with some very senior developers and this researcher. And they were talking about all the problems that could happen and how difficult this problem is. At the end of this meeting, basically my manager said, don't worry, we'll resolve all these sort of questions. We have a new intern, Pushmeet. At the end of his internship, all these things will be resolved. And I was thinking, what is he talking about? So I go back to Anandan and I tell him, Anandan, there has been a big mistake.
So initially he was a little unhappy about it, uncomfortable with it. So he came to me and said, I really want to work in computer vision. I said, okay, let me see if I can figure out a way to do this.
When I came back from Anandan's office, my manager came back and said, okay, Pushmeet, this is what we want. This is the architecture, and this is how we are going to test the device driver. So that was maybe Thursday or Friday. And on Monday, I had a first sort of run. So the manager came in to sort of check on what I had done, and I showed him, okay, this is the piece of code I wrote, and then I did a test, and it was able to find some bugs. And he was like, this is it. This was what we wanted to do in the 3-month internship. I was like, that's easy now. So that's done.
He had changed his mind. He came to me and said, no, I really like what I'm doing in this group, so I want to continue to work there. And after that, he was fine.
The managers and the research team told me that I should be thinking about a PhD.
The intern project that Pushmeet did when he came back in 2006 was with a team of 3 other people, including Andrew Fitzgibbon.
An internship is typically blue skies research. It's some idea that we don't yet know if it's going to work. We have no idea whether or not it's going to be in a product, but it's some of scientific interest, or it'll make the world a better place if we solve the problem.
And what they produced is, I think, one of the most beautiful things I've seen coming out of the lab. They called it Unwrapped Mosaic. And what's going on is a detailed analysis of a movie in terms of its 3-dimensional structure. So, for example, we had one clip in which somebody was walking through a space. You take one frame, draw a moustache on the person's face, and now that moustache is in every frame of the movie, looking right, even when the person turns around. It's fully 3-dimensional. It's an amazing effect.
And after that, he joined MSR Cambridge. And he's really risen up to be one of our most talented young researchers in computer vision and machine learning area.
My first internship was 9 years ago. From that time now, I have supervised around 15 interns already. So it's an interesting experience to be on the other side of the fence, and you're trying to live up to the standards that were set by your mentors during your internships.
And the quality of researchers that we have is so good that they get exposed to probably the best in the world in every area that they work on. So not only do they learn by doing research, but also become very familiar with the way researchers work, and a broad range of people of very high quality.
Just being in the organization and being able to sort of talk to people who are so passionate about their sort of projects, and they're so willing to actually not only work with you, but also teach you the things that you would want to learn. I think that is something unique.
Well, what a charming story there. Pushmeet, a great example there of one intern and the impact that internship had on the start of his career here.
Yeah, but it's even more, the video is more exciting to me for another entire reason. And that is, you see the other side of it. These researchers are also humble. They talk about how smart the interns are. And of course, getting a PhD is all about having somebody help you move forward and learn how to do research, everything. But the people we have, especially in the regions, in Beijing and in Bangalore, who are working with the young interns, are going far beyond that. They're really mentoring in a very unique way. And you could see the way they responded so sweetly to Pushmeet's challenges, coming from a village to becoming a major researcher in the world. It's pretty unique.
Well, and as you said, you could certainly understand coming from where he was in life, just sitting in this room with impressive people, talking about things he admitted he didn't understand. As he said in quotes, there's been a mistake. There's been a mistake here. He was terrified, but he stepped up and did what he said was, that was easy. That's a really neat situation, and to see that unfold, I think
very
it's inspiring.
Cool. Very cool.
I'm obviously not the only one who found these videos compelling. We got folks sending in all sorts of questions and things that have been coming in since Harold joined us. In fact, here's one for you from a viewer. It says, if I have an idea for a joint research project I'd like to do with Microsoft Research, how do I get connected to the right people?
Well, I think we always feel the best way to connect with Microsoft Research is in the conferences that we go around the world to. So that Microsoft researchers publish broadly. They're one of the most published labs around. That's really the place to start. And then from there, it grows.
And speaking of the start, a lot of folks, I'm sure, are thinking the same thing, is where do they start? Where do I start? Computer science student or graduate just starting out in their research career?
That's the exciting thing. I think it doesn't really matter. It's easy to find online the things that Microsoft Research is interested in, but I think it's good to look at all the other companies as well. We all have websites which cover everything. We have over 55 areas within Microsoft Research. Maybe one of those is interesting.
What final thoughts do you have for folks out there who are either intrigued, they're already starting this process, maybe they're hoping to be an intern? Some final thoughts / advice for those folks?
I think my advice, if you want to get into this field, is to really get a good broad education, because you're going to have to change what you do many times.
Okay, so be prepared to adapt.
Be prepared,
is what you're
yes.
saying. All right, great stuff. Thanks, Harold.
Thank you.
For coming by.
Thank you.